Welcome to the Fifth Quarter Sportscast. I'm Jared Judy, as usual. I'm here for the last time this season with my buddy Todd Corley. How we doing?
I appreciate those kind words, Jared. I really do. Thank you for having me. But yeah, I think I'm about done with the podcast.
For those of you confused right now, if you've not seen the Dana White and Howie Mandel podcast, that's what Todd was referencing. He was reenacting it. It was.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
It was pretty spot on. I'll give you that. But we
both said some things I'm sure we both regret, and accept your apology.
Fair enough. That's how things work around here. But we just finished up the Super Bowl this past week, and it was a lot closer than I think some people were expecting. But ultimately, the turnout was kind of what majority of the people were expecting, with the Chiefs pulling out the win, 25-22. It did go into overtime. 3 seconds away from going into double overtime, which really would have started raising some eyebrows for the was it the CEO, the president, whoever the heck it was from CBS, who said he had the script, and they said that it was the first game in history to go into double overtime. Well, I was really hoping it would have went to double overtime just to make that guy shut his mouth, but yeah, didn't happen.
Hard to explain that.
Yeah, exactly. All the people coming out here, out of the woodwork saying it's scripted, that definitely wouldn't have helped help the cause of people saying it's not. But we'll kind of run through some of the high points here and dig into some of the game. So, like I said, the Chiefs did get the win, 25-22 in overtime. What do you think, just jump right in here, what do you think was the downfall of the Niners? Do you think it was the defense? Do you think it was Brock Purdy? Do you think it was Shanahan? Do you think it was the line, like a specific position group?
Oh, man.
Because let's be honest, the game was pretty ugly the whole first half. Like, I was not impressed.
The Chiefs... I don't know. The Chiefs didn't look like the Chiefs.
They look like they have been all year. They looked subpar.
Yeah, it started. I don't know, man. It started off. I don't know. Like either team was trying to score. I don't know. It almost felt like they were both sandbagging.
That's what I'm saying. The whole first half just looked ugly. Like McCaffrey had a fumble, Pacheco had a fumble, Mahomes threw a pick. I don't think it was then. I think it was later on with the was it the punt or the kickoff or whatever off the back of the heel for the Niners. I think that was later in the second half.
There was a muffed punt that every time I watch it and read comments, it looks a little bit more suspicious.
Yeah, but it's just that whole first half. It was like literally nobody wanted to move the ball. It was kind of ridiculous.
I don't think I don't know if they just did. I don't know what they weren't involving Kittle enough. Debo got banged up there for a minute.
Well, and I don't know. I guess I don't really understand what the game plan was, because Kittle, for the whole entire game, his stat line is 2 for 4. That's it. So I don't know if he just wasn't being used. He wasn't part of the plan. He was more of a blocker. But then again, when you look to the other side, Chiefs, your go-to is Kelsey. And at halftime, he had, one catch for 1 yard. So they weren't even getting him involved either. Like, I was completely dumbfounded as to how are you not getting your playmakers involved in the biggest game of the year? Like, I don't really understand it.
Maybe it speaks to the defense, I guess, if they were able to neutralize the biggest weapons. But I don't know. The whole thing felt... it was obviously low scoring. It just felt underwhelming, and then all of a sudden it's like late in the fourth. It's like, oh, here they are.
It kind of felt like watching a Chiefs game earlier in the season where nobody was in sync. It didn't seem like there was any kind of rhythm. It felt very clunky, very disorganized, very almost like nobody had any kind of play calling rhythm or any, like everything just seemed like a mess. Nothing was really working. I don't know. It was just very confusing to me. But ultimately, the Niners did go in at halftime with a 10-3 lead. And yeah, it was pretty much downhill from there. In the second half, it was all Chiefs. Why? I don't know. Shanahan now has lost 3 Super Bowls after having a 10-plus point lead, either as a coordinator or a head coach. So he's now starting to get that stigma of, hey, he can make it through the season, but he can't win the big game. Like, to be the Super Bowl 3 times and blow a lead 3 times, it's not exactly the most, glamorous title. But
suboptimal.
It's not ideal, yeah. But, I mean, do you think the play calling for him, game managing, I guess, do you think that kind of played a part in it? Because I thought it was, and we'll get to this here when we go through some of the coaching ranks, but it did come out that he decided it was the best decision to fire Steve Wilks. I mean, is it really on the defense? I don't really know that was the problem because the offense wasn't moving the ball either.
Yeah, I mean,
he almost seems like it almost seems like a scapegoat.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they had to get rid of somebody. Yeah, I don't know, being favored and then lose. Yeah, it's somebody's got to get fired. You can't fire the players. I don't know. Maybe that was a long time coming, though.
It can't be that long, though, because he was just in Carolina last year, so it's only been a season.
Maybe they didn't want to do it earlier on or whenever during the season because they were actually winning and on top of things.
Maybe.
They were like, okay, here's the first excuse. Now, good, we can get rid of him.
Yeah.
Losing Greenlaw sure as hell didn't help.
Yeah, that was...
But supposedly, they were talking about his injury being known prior to the game anyway.
Also, he had an injury going into that already?
That's what they were saying because I think it was Warner was saying that as soon as he did it, as soon as he saw him go down, no, they weren't. That's why he's like he knew it. They knew he had a bum wheel.
I thought he got hurt on the field. I didn't realize he was on the sideline running onto the field until I saw the video, and I was like, "What the heck?" Like a non-contact. He wasn't even on the field.
Exactly.
Like that was very, very odd. Very odd. It almost kind of. I almost kind of got the feel of last year's game when it was injury after injury after injury, and then in the championship, the Niners didn't even have a quarterback on the roster that could throw a ball. Like I kind of felt like we were starting to get down that path there for a little while because we had Greenlaw go down, then Samuel went down, and then somebody else I feel like went down, and it was like, oh my God, here they go again.
Not what you want in the biggest game of the year. Brightest lights.
Not ideal.
Literally the entire world watching.
Yeah, not ideal. But I was looking through some stuff on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and Hembo from ESPN posted something that was kind of interesting. It's in regard to the last 7 playoff appearances that the Niners have had. This is actually kind of mind-blowing for how everybody looks at Shanahan as like this offensive guru and this genius. So we'll go back to 2011. 2011 versus the Giants in the NFC Championship. They led 14-10, lost in overtime. 2012 against the Ravens in the Super Bowl, they had 3 incompletions from the 5-yard line on the final drive. They lose. 2013 to the Seahawks in the NFC Championship. They led again 10-3 at halftime. Outscored 10-0 in the fourth quarter, and they lose that. 2019 in the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again. Led 20-10. Outscored 21-0 in the fourth quarter to lose. 21 against the Rams in the NFC Championship. Lost on a field goal with 1:46 remaining. 2022 Eagles NFC Championship. Brock Purdy got injured on the first drive. And then this previous 2023 Chiefs in the Super Bowl led 10-3 at halftime, led halftime, lost in overtime. Like, that's a lot of regular / postseason success, but then you can't get over the hump. And for everyone to call him a guru, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen.
He wasn't there for all that shit. I mean, some of that was fucking Jim Harbaugh.
Exactly. And
some of it was...
Well, that's what Hembo said. It was the 49ers. But
yeah,
it's just like, oh, man, between all of that bad luck, I guess you want to call it, I don't know, and then the bad fortune that he kind of took the heat for in Atlanta with the 28-3 Super Bowl, like, man, I don't know. I don't know what, and it's not like they don't have the talent. That team is stacked.
Niners are crazy.
There's
crazy
absolutely
good.
No reason why they shouldn't be good. I just don't know what the deal is. But I don't know.
It's hard.
But we did have some crazy records, though. I don't remember when it was, if it was first quarter or first half or second half, but Moody set the Super Bowl record for the longest field goal with a 55-yard field goal. And just shortly after that, I don't even think it was minutes later, Bucker breaks it to nail a 57-yard field goal to make it the longest in Super Bowl history. So
second quarter was Moody, third quarter was Butker.
Okay, I was gonna say I knew they weren't too far, too far apart. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. But that's
pretty cool. Break this record twice in the same game.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's interesting that it was back to back, but the fact that that's kind of how this game was playing out. It was like a battle of the punts and the field goals, and field position was really all game. That's what it was. It wasn't like these high powered shootouts like everyone was kind of expecting.
I put a live bet in on Butker winning MVP, to be totally honest.
I don't know if it was you or maybe they were talking about it, that Juwan Jennings, after that freak throwback pass for him to win MVP, there's no argument. There's absolutely no way that anybody wouldn't give him the MVP if they would have won. I mean, granted, Christian McCaffrey had a hell of a game, but still, man, that's a hell of a feat.
I had two live bets on Super Bowl MVP. One was on Butker.
Yeah. So what do you think about? I mean, obviously, Mr. Irrelevant, everyone, he's not any good, whatever. What's your take on Purdy? Is he good, just choke in the big moment, or do you think he's decent and the team let him down, or do you just think that he's nothing better than just average?
I think he's damn good, but he's also second year in the league, whatever. He's not Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
He hasn't been there before. He was the reason I figured the Chiefs would win, and the line was wrong.
I kind of put him in. Granted, they're not the same, and Purdy has slightly more experience, but I kind of put him in the same boat as Jordan Love. It's their first year, not Purdy, but it's the first year, so it's kind of like they're still rookies. So you kind of expect them at some point. Yeah, they're really, really good, but eventually they're going to come back to the mean. They're going to make those rookie mistakes. They're not a Drew Brees. They're not a Tom Brady. They're not a Pat Mahomes. They're not a Aaron Rodgers. They're not a Dan Marino, whoever the hell you want to throw in there. These aren't seasoned vets. So I kind of expected Purdy to make some mistakes. But then again, I also get the take on him that he's kind of like Mahomes. Like he'll take those shots. He's not shy. He's not, he's not one to just hold on and just fight for another down. Like he's going to try to make the best of every single play. Whether it's a smart play or not, he's going to try to do the best that he can to put his team in position to, make the plays to win. So you got to give him that. But I just think the team in general, they struggled. Like the offense outside of McCaffrey, I don't think they did a whole lot. And for whatever reason, they got away from the run, which blows me away because every time somebody has success running the ball, they seem to think too much of, into it. McCaffrey was running over people and he was getting 3.6 yards average. That's pretty damn good. I mean, if you're getting almost 4 yards a carry, it's pretty good. Keep riding it. Why are you trying to do anything else? If they can't prove to stop it, then keep running it. And then they decided to try to get cute and try to start throwing it, and then the defense, the Chiefs just caught them. And that's kind of when things changed. And that punt that bounced off the guy's heel, that was kind of like the dagger, the beginning of the end, I felt like. I was like, well, I actually said it out loud when I was watching it. I said, well, that's going to be the turning point right there. That the Chiefs are going to just jump on that, and they're going to just steamroll. Now, granted, I didn't think it was going to be in overtime, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of thought they would have got Pacheco involved a little bit more.
I always think they're going to get Pacheco involved more, and they never do.
I mean, he had 18 for 59, so I mean, he wasn't. It wasn't like they weren't.
Catches.
It wasn't like they weren't using him. Yeah, but I mean, you look at previous weeks; he was in the mid-20s. So I don't know. You got to give them to the Chiefs. I mean, give them their props as much as people don't like them, much as people can't stand it. Whatever. It's becoming to look like a another New England dynasty type thing. You got a lot of younger guys there. You still got Pat Mahomes. You still got Kelsey. Pacheco is a young guy, so you still got your core. But they're the first in history to go back-to-back since the Patriots. And, right now they're on the target to do 3 in a row. It's going to be a hell of a feat, but at this point, if anyone's going to do it, the odds in there are definitely in their favor. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was that impressive of a game. Like I thought it was a decent game. It wasn't terrible. And the fact that it went to overtime, obviously gave you a little bit more for your bang. But they talked about this all over the national media. I still don't understand in overtime why you take the ball first.
Yeah, well, that was that was a blunder there. I mean, they called that one out.
When Shanahan took the ball first, I was just like, what? Why?
That may not have been on purpose.
Well, that's the reports are kind of coming out that his words aren't matching up, and it's saying that he wanted the ball to end the game on the third possession, third series. Well, if Mahomes scores, he's going for 2. You ain't getting a third, so it doesn't matter. Like, it just didn't make sense. And now it's kind of like Juszczyk came out and said, oh, he wasn't aware that the overtime rules had changed, which me as a fan, I wasn't aware that they had changed. I knew they had changed, but I didn't know how they changed. And I don't know about you. I'm sure you probably knew, but I didn't realize when it was coming down to the end with like 20, 30 seconds. I was like, why are they not calling timeout? Why are they not calling timeout? And then it made sense when Romo was like, hey, this is just like the end of the first quarter. That's technically still part of the Chiefs' drive. So as long as they're still moving the ball, the clock is irrelevant. I didn't realize that part. So that kind of made more sense. But it was like, yeah, so you got a field goal. So basically now all the Chiefs have to do to at least not lose the game is at least get to a field goal. But if they score, they win. Like, that made zero sense. Not only that, but when you're on like the 5-yard line, 9-yard line, whatever the hell San Fran was on, why are you not in 4-down territory 4 plays in a row? Because if you kick, you have a very good chance to lose. So you might as well go for it anyway, because if you miss on 4th down, then you've pinned the Chiefs all the way back at the 5 or 9, whatever the heck they were, to go the rest of the field. Like, I don't know. That just completely dumbfounded me. It made zero sense to me.
One stat that I was reading about that I thought was kind of cute: the most penalized offensive line in the league this past season was the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I think I think I saw I see where you're going.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero holding calls.
Yeah.
on the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 58.
Which is funny because then when you look back at some replays, I remember at least a good 2 to 3 times where Boza pretty much got tackled.
Yep.
And it's like,
interesting, right?
So
don't look too close at that shit, though.
So you can tackle Boza in the Super Bowl, but if you do it on week 9, it's a flag. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on how somebody wants it to go.
I mean,
right?
Granted, don't get me wrong. You could probably call holding on every single play. That's one of those.
You could.
That's one of those penalties that you could call on every single play. Exactly.
But none.
But with that being said, to be one of the most penalized teams and then have 0,
the most, number one, Jawan Taylor alone.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
To have stark differences that glaring definitely raises some eyebrows.
Interesting, right?
But
don't look too close at the numbers.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad the refs weren't involved as much as they were, as much as they could have been, because it's like you also don't want a fucking flag fest where it's every 13 seconds there's a flag. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I want the calls to be as accurate as possible, but I also don't want these games to be 7 hours long because we're doing ticky-tack bullshit every single play. Like let them play. Unless it's a blatant foul, don't throw the flag. But yeah, some of those were a little obvious. When you got the one I remember, Boza was just flying off the edge, and then pretty much got horse collared right at the ref's feet. Nope, didn't see it. Didn't count. I was looking at the clock. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's all bullshit, but it's all just kind of like wrestling. It's entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you got to keep in mind. Yes, it is sports, but it's also entertainment, and that's where the dollars come in. But yeah, like as we said, Chiefs did get the win, 25-22 in overtime. They are the first since the Patriots to go back to back. Now they're looking for three-peat. What was it? They've won 3 of the last 5 times they've been in the Super Bowl, or 4 out of the last 5 or something, crazy like that. It's a hell of a crazy stat. And the fact that Pat Mahomes has been in the playoffs, I believe, every single year since he started, that's a pretty damn good stat too. I'm not gonna lie.
I just don't understand why they were underdogs.
Yeah, I still don't. That still doesn't make any sense. Especially, I mean, that would be like when Atlanta played the Patriots, and the Patriots were the underdog. Like, they've been there before, and the Falcons haven't. Like, why would the Falcons have been favored? They weren't, but that would be a comparable scenario here. Why would the Niners be when, the Chiefs were just there last year? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But, hey, whatever. They proved who was the underdog, I guess. But we'll kind of wrap up the game here. They did have their parade. What was it, yesterday, I believe? And apparently some people are just loose cannons, can't hold their alcohol. You name it, fill in the blank, label it however you want. But a couple people, I don't know. Last I heard they had 3 detained, got out of control and started firing shots into the crowd during the Super Bowl parade. At the parade, I guess the players were shielding kids, and it was just an absolute mess. And
even Jackson Mahomes was out there helping.
Yeah. I was probably TikToking. But anyway, he supposedly there was like 21, 22 or something like that, people injured or shot. Last I heard, I think there was 1, death. But
yeah, I think
they might have been a little bit.
There was a radio DJ.
Yeah, but from what I've understood, most of them were kids. Like, I just
2 of the 3 people that they arrested were minors.
Yeah, and I just don't understand it. Like, why? What's the point? I don't get it. It makes no sense. And the fact that this isn't the first time something stupid like that happened, like last year, I know they were talking about it. I actually completely forgot about it until they brought it up. I think it might have been McAfee that was talking about it, where some idiot like stole a car and drove it through the parade route, like hitting people last year. Like, so this isn't the first time this has happened, specifically at a Chiefs Super Bowl parade. Like, are they just done with parades now, or are they going to put up barricades to block people? Like, I don't know. It sucks because as a player, like, this is your ultimate goal and you want to go celebrate with the fans, but at what cost, I guess? I don't know.
World's a crazy place, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you got too many idiots out there. But with that being said, we'll move to some of the breaking news. There's, since the last episode, we had the NFL honors. We had plenty of coaching changes. We had the 2024 Hall of Fame class get revealed. So we'll kind of run through these pretty quick here. As we mentioned already earlier, Steve Wilkes, he's the scapegoat. DC got fired by Shanahan in San Francisco. Whether that makes any sense, I don't know. You know, to each your own. You fill in the blank however you want to do that. Cliff Kingsbury apparently flips and pulls a Josh McDaniels. He was supposed to go to the Raiders, and supposedly reports out he wanted was it a 3-year contract or something like that, and they were only going to give him a 1, or there's something to do with the contract. I believe it was the years, and they couldn't agree, so he pulls out, and now he's at Washington. So, yeah, there's that.
Good things always happen when you pull out.
Yeah, well, usually. Yeah, and it was funny because from the last recording, I think we talked offline. It was like, oh, Kingsbury's going to the Raiders. That's interesting. Him and I can't even think. The Antonio Pierce. I wonder how those two will kind of mesh. And it's just like, what the hell? That's now it's him and Dan Quinn. Interesting. That's quite a change of scenery. But hey, whatever. But moving on, Wink Martindale was kind of a name that a lot of Packers fans were hoping we're going to get some consideration for the DC job. I know he was also kind of linked to potentially down in Dallas. Ultimately, he does go to Michigan to become the DC up there. I thought this one was kind of interesting. The Chargers were, I don't know if anything, I haven't heard anything else on it, if anything kind of came to fruition or not, but the Chargers were kind of targeting Navarro Bowman as their linebackers coach. He was a hell of a player. I don't know, I didn't realize that, anybody was even going after him for a coach, but how do you think he would pan out as a coach?
Hell yeah. I'll give him a shot. Why not?
I feel like the linebacker coaches would be like the best people, simply because they're not quite a lineman, but they're not quite a secondary, but they're all about smacking people. So
I want somebody who's going to be respected by players and has an unprecedented level of CTE. Like,
I thought you were going to say success, but that too.
No. Just give me that trauma, baby. I want all that head trauma. That's what I want out of a leader. I'll follow your motherfucker through a wall.
Yeah.
Scramble them eggs, baby.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard too much more on that. If that's something still that they're trying to pursue or what. I just kind of saw that floating around online. It'll be an interesting hire, though. Ultimately, Wink Martindale, we mentioned, went to Michigan. Zimmer ultimately gets the job for the Dallas DC, which he's been a name floating around for a couple years when DC jobs get opened. And I didn't think he was that great of a head coach, but he was a hell of a coordinator. So it'll be interesting to see what he does, trying to keep that defense at an all-time high from where Quinn left it with Parsons. Granted, they didn't do much in the playoffs, but that's neither here nor there. But they were a heck of a defense during the regular season, so it'll be interesting to see where they go down there. Getting into some of the NFL honors, not too many surprises here, kind of what we expected. C.J. Stroud, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Houston Texans, Will Anderson, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I know there was plenty of outcry, if you want to call it that, online. Myles Garrett got the Defensive Player of the Year. I know that plenty of people were out there bitching and moaning about TJ Watt not getting it. As a Browns fan, take your fandom out of it. Do you think that was legit, or do you think he was the best defensive player? Browns fandom aside.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, I wouldn't have been upset if Watt got it.
Yeah. I put it this way. As a defensive lineman, I don't know of too many other people that are that reckless and that he's the type of guy where you're going to be like, where's he at every play? We have to lock him up every play.
He's out there like doing crossovers and shit, and like
he's just out there playing.
Dude, oh my God.
He's a freak.
One of the guys, there's a Browns fan in our fantasy football league who lives in Arizona.
Yeah.
Who is not a Myles Garrett fan. He thinks he's overrated. He says he's soft. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't know about any of that.
And yeah, I know. I'm like, dude, I don't want to tell you this. I think you're on an island.
Well,
I think
he's
on
the West Coast, so you got to give him that. Everything he sees is on delay.
Yeah, this is true. I'm like, man, I don't know about all that business.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He was a phenomenal. He's easily top 3 defensive players in the league right now. I think you could also have a case for Bosa and Nick Bosa and TJ as well. But what I have a hard time with is if you look at raw stats, TJ had much better stats than what Garrett did. They're both phenomenal players. They both wreck games. They both basically have the ability to change the outcome of a game on a dime. What are we doing? Like, what's the NFL honors about if it's not a stats? I mean, the NFL is a stat league. They keep stats for a reason. So if we're not using stats to determine who's the best, then what are we keeping them for, I guess? I didn't have an interest either way because, like I said, they're both phenomenal guys. But if we're going by stats, I feel like TJ should have got it. But again, it's hard to really dispute it because they're both freaks in nature. I mean, unbelievable. I just thought that was interesting because I saw a lot of people online, which they're closet Browns fans, with their heads in the clouds. Oh my gosh, TJ couldn't hold a candle to Myles Garrett. Garrett had far superior stats. I'm like, did you look at the stats? I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't deserving, but the stats paint a different picture. But yeah, I thought that one was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't. It's tricky. Browns had a better defense than Pittsburgh.
They did.
Browns statistically had a better defense. You could argue that part of that was because if he's not getting a sack, he's getting double, triple teamed.
Yeah. Well,
he's opening up everybody else.
Like
I said, I could see both.
Yeah.
I would not have been upset if TJ Watt would have gotten.
And the other thing you could say too is you see how bad that defense suffered after TJ got hurt. So either way, you couldn't go wrong in my opinion with either one of them. And if it wouldn't have been one of them, that would have been criminal. If it wasn't one of them, if it was somebody else, because I don't know who else it would have been, in my opinion, or who else it should have been. Because those two were hand in hand the entire season.
John Bland had a lot of pick sixes.
Yeah, true.
Some people probably could have liked that if they liked their stats and their scoring.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad for a Browns standpoint.
Yeah,
I like Myles Garrett. I don't want him on any other team. I'll tell you that.
Do you think he got random? Do you think he got random drug tested after the award?
That guy got random drug tested after every time he touched a ball carrier. It goes guys out there going sleeveless, and next thing you know, he's getting drug tested.
Yeah. But moving on here, no real surprise here. CMC got Offensive Player of the Year. This is pretty much a Browns wrap up here. They took everything. Stefanski, Coach of the Year. Flacco, Comeback Player of the Year. And Lamar Jackson, MVP, which was kind of, anticipated. I guess I'm kind of confused
There's
as
one other Browns award. There's one more.
what was the other one?
Schwartz. Assistant Coach of the Year.
Oh, yeah, I missed that one. I figured he would have.
Schwartz, 4 man. Browns, baby.
So there was some debate again online. People, bitching and moaning, and frankly, I don't understand the debate. And we've talked about this before offline. We've probably talked about it on the episodes previously. As far as the Comeback Player of the Year, to you, what is Comeback Player reference? Does it reference somebody that basically had a bad year and then came back and had a great year? Does it reference, like an injury, like an Alex Smith and came back to play? Like, what is your personal idea of the criteria for that?
I think it depends on the situation. Because sometimes there's players, like I remember Geno got it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Geno Smith was still in the goddamn league.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco wasn't even in the league.
Yeah.
Came off his couch.
Yeah.
He goes out there and guides the Browns. I don't think there's a quarterback that they have on the roster that could have gotten him where they got to in the playoffs and got him set up for that.
My thing is,
DeMar Hamlin died. That's cool. You know what he didn't do? He didn't play every fucking game this season.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't think it should be dedicated solely to injury. Like, I get it when Alex Smith got it because the guy freaking almost lost his leg and almost freaking died because, sepsis and everything else setting in. But then,
I hate to say it, but he's a fucking quarterback.
Well, yeah, but when he came back to play, that was, he didn't obviously play that much and play that long, but that was a hell of a thing to come back from.
Yeah.
Okay, warranted. Flacco, the guy was freaking having sleepovers and hanging out on his couch and, whatever, throwing the ball with, his brother, kid, dad, whoever at the park. And then the next week he's strapping it up playing for the Browns. I'd say that qualifies.
Playing damn well.
Yeah, I
shit.
would say that qualifies going from not playing at all to playing on Sundays. I would say that's a pretty good comeback.
Absolutely.
I get it. The DeMar Hamlin, I get it. I get why people, comeback player of the year. But I also think the comeback player of the year has to be some sort of an impact player for the team. Like, it can't be the third string kicker who broke his foot and then came back and kicked the game-winning field goal last game of the season. Like, you didn't do anything all season. Like, he didn't play that many plays for the team the entire season. Like, there were games he wasn't even active.
He only played 6 games.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't understand people's reasoning for him getting comeback player of the year.
His best game was 3 tackles.
Well, aside from him and the incident from last year and coming back from that, but again, is it a coming back from injury award or is it coming back from, hey, you weren't even playing last year to, oh my God, now you're a superstar? I don't know. I don't think it can be just solely based on injury or, something like that because guys get injured all the time. Like, so then what? If they ball out next year, does any of these guys that had the Achilles injuries, are they eligible for comeback player? Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Greenlaw? Any of these guys? Like, are they eligible for it then? I don't know.
The people that wanted DeMar Hamlin to win comeback player of the year,
it was solely based on
Taylor Swift, Instagram, social media fans.
Well, yeah.
Football fans know that if it wasn't for Joe Flacco, the fucking Browns wouldn't have been doing what they were doing.
They would have been the typical
the back
Browns.
half of that season.
They would have been the
third of that season.
They would have been the typical Browns.
Flacco absolutely deserved it.
I honestly, I didn't pay attention too much to it. I didn't think too much into it. But there's no way I would have thought that Hamlin would have got it. But if Flacco wouldn't have got it, who the hell else would have? Like, I don't even know who else you would have gave it to.
I know a lot of people Hamlin deserves it. Hamlin.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who else they would have, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even know. of anybody else. It seemed like a shoe-in to me, but I don't know. But we will finish it here with the class of 2024 getting announced. It's a pretty interesting class. We're kind of getting to the point where we're starting to feel old. At least I am, because you're growing up and watching these guys. You remember them playing when you were young, and then you're like, oh my god, now they're getting inducted. Like this isn't the 60s and like Jerry Kramer guys from the 60s, and it's not the guys from the gridiron years. It's the guys you grew up watching. So it's cool, it's interesting, but then it's kind of like, man, kind of makes you feel old. But it's an interesting class. Some guys I'm kind of shocked that are on there, but we had Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, Patrick Willis, Randy Gradshar, and Steve McMichael. Of that list, is there anybody that kind of surprised you as a first ballot or in general?
No, I don't. This wasn't Patrick Willis's first time.
No.
I would have thought Patrick Willis would have been in sooner.
So did I. I still thought that Freeney would have been in sooner.
I would have thought Freeney should have been in sooner. Dwight Freeney was a force. God, he was so good.
Him and Mathis were a brick wall when they played. I'm shocked that Hester got in first ballot, like first time. That kind of shocked me because this was his first shot, wasn't it?
Yeah. When did he play that?
I thought this was his first shot. Maybe last year.
I think it may have been. I'm sort of surprised over, like, I knew Antonio Gates got snubbed.
Yeah, I'm saying guys like that, like, nothing against Hester. He was, God, being a Packers fan, I've seen him way too much. The guy was phenomenal. He was a hell of a player.
And you won't see it again.
But the thing is, exactly, he had mainly one job, and it was a returner. So basically, the only time he got on the field to show his skill set was when his team was getting their ass beat because the other team was scoring, and he was returning. That was the only time you ever saw him on the field. So for me, nothing against him. He was a phenomenal freak. But to see him get in over top of guys like Antonio Gates, who's on the field 2/3 of the time, I was kind of shocked. And a couple others. But hey, no knocks against him. He was a hell of a player. I just was kind of shocked because he didn't really do a whole lot on offense or anything.
No. He was a big one-trick pony. He's a hell of a trick.
Yeah.
But, no. If he wouldn't have made it, I'd have been okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's typical, too, because you don't see too many special teamers from either side usually getting on. Like, it's a rarity. Like, punters, kickers, returners, long snappers. Like, you don't really see that all that often. It's typically, linemen, receiver, quarterbacks is typically where you see the occasional defensive guys as well. But, yeah, that one kind of caught me off guard. Andre Johnson.
I loved Andre Johnson.
What'd you think of him? Did you think he was going to get in first ballot? I didn't think he would, to be honest.
Oh, was he?
He was unbelievable. He was unbelievable, but I didn't think he was going to get in first ballot.
Bad Texans teams.
Was he?
Man.
Was he there? He was there, wasn't he? With Foster.
Yeah.
And was it Schaub at the time?
Yeah, Matt Schaub. Yeah.
Yeah, I anytime I think of Johnson, the only time everybody thinks of it is him just beating the living piss out of Cortland Finnegan.
Cortland Finnegan.
Yeah.
As he beat the F out of him.
I will say, for the limited time he played for him, it was cool to see Julius Peppers go in, although, it was short-lived with Green Bay. But he started with the Panthers, didn't he? If I remember right.
He was with the Panthers for thought the majority.
Yeah, I think it was majority of his career was the
Chicago.
Panthers, and then he went to Green Bay, and then he was with Chicago, I think, for like a year or two, and then went back to Carolina. But yeah, I loved seeing him in Green
I
Bay.
thought he was with Chicago more than he was with Green Bay because I don't remember him doing jack shit in Green Bay.
He was really good in Green Bay. I think he was there 2 years, maybe 3 years. And then I think he was only at Chicago for a year, maybe 2. And then he went back to Carolina. I was pissed when he went to Chicago. I was pissed when he went to Chicago, just because I didn't.
Pissed when he went to Chicago.
Yeah, I just didn't want to see. I didn't want to face him. I didn't want to face him. Actually, he was the one. Rodgers has talked about it before.
Yeah, he was in Chicago longer than he was in Green Bay.
Really? I didn't think he was. But he was in Chicago.
He's in 4 years in Chicago, 3 in Green Bay.
He was in Chicago the year when they had to play them, I think, to get into the playoffs. And he came flying down to hit Rodgers just as Rodgers flipped it to, it might have been John Kuhn or something for a screen. And I guess, Pepper started talking trash, and Rodgers is, something like, hey, you know how I play. You're not going to catch me, whatever, talking trash. But yeah, I hated to see him go. I liked him.
They made him a linebacker.
Yeah. He seemed like one of those guys that was almost too big to be a linebacker, but then I don't want to say too slow, but
he's just quick. I remember playing basketball.
Yeah, he was almost too big to be a linebacker, but he was so agile, like more agile than a lineman. So it was kind of weird. He had a perfect mix.
Yeah, his first 8 years in Carolina. Next 4 were in Chicago. 3 in Green Bay, and then back to Carolina for 2.
Yeah, he was
17-year career. That's a hell of a career, man.
Yeah, especially too. He was a big ass dude too. He was huge. That was actually what I was kind of shocked about, to be honest. I figured that, speaking of linemen and freaks of nature, I figured Jared Allen would have gotten in over Hester. I mean, he's another one I hated to go against because that guy, he was a freak. He was one you had to scheme around all the time. But he'll get in. I just figured he would have got in by now over top of some people, but hey. But I think that's all I had. You got anything?
No.
Well, we'll wrap up this one here. It's kind of crazy, season went a lot faster than kind of thought, but yeah, it's now the off season, kind of the dead period, slow period for the NFL, and now it's going to be kind of a lot of acquisition, trade talk, and contract extensions, negotiations, looking into the draft and combine talk, and coaching at all the coaches, and trying to get their staffs built up and situated for the next coming season here, which starts the start of the league year in March. But yeah, it's crazy. It seems like it flew really, really quick. But it is the down part of the season, slow part of the year. But yeah, we'll go on a little bit of a hiatus here unless something crazy happens, and we'll pick it back up next season here in a couple months. But yeah, until then, you want to interact with us, hit us up on any of the socials, 5th Q Sportscast, 5THQ Sportscast. Download, rate, subscribe, review. Go back, listen to some of the other podcasts, some of the other episodes, you get bored. But yeah, until then, enjoy some downtime. I know there's plenty of NBA and MLB and NHL out there. You guys want to make some wagers, make some money on the side, get stocked up, and make some bank for the upcoming football season next year. But until then, we will catch you guys next season.
Hey, goodbye. So keep your tits dry.